Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
When agencies define requirements clearly, industry can respond with better solutions and fewer surprises. When they don't, costs rise and timelines slip. The Professional Services Council has been measuring those trends and recently issued their new acquisition scorecard. PSC's CEO Jim Carroll joins me now with more details. Jim, it's great to have you. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Terry. It's good to be on.
You guys are just coming off a big event before the 4th of July holiday. PSC held their annual Federal Acquisition Conference. What were the big themes in the room this year?
Yeah, it was a great conference. It was the best attended conference we've ever had. And I think that's a reflection of really what's happening in the acquisition space. The upheaval, I would say, of the first year and a half or so is beginning to calm down. The administration is falling into a groove of understanding that smooth acquisition is necessary. And while there are still bubbles of working with the government officials to actually get contracts awarded, there's clearly an understanding of the need to move faster in terms of making decisions and leveling the playing field, I would say. There's still work to do. There's always work to do. That's why PSC exists, to educate not only our members, but government officials. But this acquisition conference was really interesting. We did release our Federal Business Forecast Scorecard at the acquisition conference. And, that's our annual review of what government agencies are performing the best in this space. And so we had good examples, I would say, of government agencies that really stood out and are doing a great job. And we just need the rest of the government to emulate them.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the scorecard. What are you looking at? What indicates good performance?
Yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into it. We assess 15 key attributes in terms of how easy it is to even search for bids, acquisition information, updated modification dates, simple things such as contract vehicles, contact information, and even timelines of when they expect to make awards. Pretty simple categories, but not all government agencies do it as well as the two that we identified as particularly good examples.
And who are those exemplars?
Boy, I feel like we're opening the envelope for the Oscar Awards. There are two that we congratulate. One is CMS. They really have a great forecast. I call it a spreadsheet that really can deliver value to companies that are interested in bidding on contracts. The other one, and maybe this doesn't come as a surprise when you've seen such a successful Artemis 2 launch, and the excitement about Artemis 3 is NASA. NASA really was recognized for agency-wide forecasting, letting companies drill down into some of these contract availabilities, but really being forward-leaning into working with companies to make these awards, these contract awards. And so we were very happy to recognize CMS and NASA for their work. And we have close relationships with those two agencies. And so it was really, in some ways, it was really fun to give a special shout out to those agencies and those government officials.
And Jim, what separates NASA and CMS from other agencies? What do they do differently to create these forecasts so that companies can have a better idea of what's going to come down the pipe?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to communication, a willingness to talk, to explain what they want. And what CMS and NASA are really doing is, instead of saying, we need this particular service, they're doing a very good job of saying, here is the problem. What services and solutions do you have to help us with this problem? It's an open-minded discussion of how can we as an agency deliver better value to the taxpayer. And that allows the PSC companies, the government contractors, to interact directly with the decision makers to give them exactly what they want, what they feel like they need to deliver success. At NASA, we had so many government contractors sitting seat next to seat for Artemis 2, for what's going on. At CMS, we have companies that are providing answering services for the public when they call and need help with medical issues. And so Medicare, Medicaid, not direct health issues, but it's really a customer service mindset for the taxpayer that spills back to working with the government contractor. And so it's been great. It's aligns closely with something OMB released about 2 years ago, the Strengthening Federal Procurement Forecast. It's what we have highlighted to our members, and it's part of the services and value that we provide to our members and to the government from these interactions. And so maybe it's no surprise, but we're very happy that it was the largest attended acquisition conference. Hundreds of government employees, government decision makers, high-ranking government speakers, and just great participation from companies, from the C-suite to the contract officials.
Jim Carroll is the CEO of the Professional Services Council. Well, Jim, with all of that conversation on the table and the business forecast scorecard coming out, what do you see as we look forward here, the messages from the administration to industry about how these processes are going to play out in the coming months?
Boy, the coming months. It's hard to imagine, Terry. We're a little over 80 days left of working days for Congress, and the target end date of December the 18th means there's a lot of work to do in Congress. They need to pass the NDAA. That is one of the ways that government contractors provide services. We've seen some really good meetings lately, especially at DOW. We had member companies meeting with Secretary Hegseth last week. Those meetings, I guess about 10 days ago now, those meetings went very well, directing the cutting edge companies to be able to provide the best services, both in magazine depth as well as the latest services to help the Department of War. And when the NDAA is not passed, if there's a government shutdown, God forbid, what happens is these contractors that are providing integral services, they are not getting reimbursed for the work that they are doing. And these companies, especially the small ones, are really, I don't want to say scraping by, but they're really having to rely on extraordinary financial measures to be able to continue to turn the lights on and make payroll. They're doing everything possible when these things happen. And so we're looking forward to working with Congress on this issue and getting the NDAA passed. There's work to do. There's clarity on some things that need to be addressed. We're working with the industry. We're going to Capitol Hill, it seems, every day to talk about some of the provisions. And so we're definitely busy. It's not much of a July recess at all. And I don't know that August is going to be any better.
Jim, as we think about the NDAA and the competing versions in the House and the Senate, where are you seeing the biggest alignment, the greatest opportunities for folks in the industry?
I think the alignment across the industry and across both the aisles and across political divides are the concept of how do we actually provide national security? How do the $1.5 trillion that's asked for, how do we make sure that there's actually a return on the investment that the taxpayers are giving the Department of War to provide essential services that are critical to the safety and security of the country? And so there's alignment on the overarching theme. The issue is, and it always is with Congress, is the devil is in the details, and making sure that the priorities align to provide that service. And sadly, politics are always involved, and despite being born and raised in D.C., Terry, and I hate to say this, but it seems that there is more capital P political partisanship than ever before, but there are some good members of Congress that understand this on both sides of the aisle, and we're working with them to help build contingencies of individuals members of Congress, who want to work with federal contractors to deliver best-in-kind awards, contract awards, to provide these services. We have some amazing government contractors that really love the country, love the services they provide, and think of themselves as true government servants. And so we just need to keep our eyes moving forward, keep looking to Congress to to pass some of this legislation and work with the administration on realistic goals.
Jim Carroll is CEO of the Professional Services Council. Jim, as you say, lots of important conversations yet to happen over the summer.
It's going to be a busy summer, Terry.
Thanks for joining me. We'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.